Hello everybody out there watching on YouTube, and I hope you've been having a happy Thanksgiving as much as I have, as we have reached the final event of Daytona Speed Week. I am Levi McIntyre, the voice of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series, here to welcome you to the great American race, the Daytona 500 at Daytona International Speedway, as we are getting set for 40 laps of racing here at one of the most important races of all time, and the biggest race of any in our 2003 series season. But I am not alone for this one. I have two, that's right, two co-commentators, both legends of not only this series but of this channel as far as NR. First, please welcome the P-Man, Preston Plord.
Hello everybody, very happy to do commentary once again.
And then the second commentator, please welcome Mr. Tommy Two-Tone fan himself, Dylan Young.
Yeah, the one and only, the guy who's been around for the series since the very first season and all. Thank you.
Indeed. So, today with the Daytona 500, it's going to be interesting because not only has this race doubled the amount of laps compared to what we've been running with either the Bud Shootout, the Gatorade Duels, or the two races we had earlier today with the Amazon Prime Trucks and Domino's NXT Series. So this is definitely going to be very, very competitive, considering that 40 drivers going at it for the biggest trophy of them all for the Daytona 500. But let's take a look at the starting lineup once again. After the Gatorade Duels and everything that's happened, starting in the last row are Ethan Hoffman and Kyle Matthews. In fact, Qualls, Hoffman, and Matthews, because they were wrecked in Gatorade Duel number 2, they had to start in the back of the field. But the top 10, the front row remained the same after pole day. Dylan Thoreau on the pole with DJ Curtis right next to him. Row 2 is Dylan Jacobs, James Shelley. Row 3, Cody Lamas and defending series champion Joshua Sekuli. Row 4, Colin Phillips, Jay Jefferson. And then row 5, Diego Yepes and Rafael Leduc. Now, before we get started, a couple of quick notes about not only with this race, but for the season going forward. The chase this season, we're going back to just the top 10 in points. So if you make the top 10 at the end of the Southern 500 at Darlington, race 26, you're going to be able to battle for the championship. Point system as a whole, however, has underwent a complete overhaul. Big notes to take note for is that if you win this race, or any race for that matter, you get a 7-point advantage from everyone behind you who finishes. So you get a 7-point advantage over second place, so that makes it to where winning's gonna mean a whole lot more. But it's also gonna create a bigger emphasis on drivers trying their best to try and get good finishes, because if you finish 36th through last, you won't get any points whatsoever. So this is definitely going to make or break a lot of drivers. But without further ado, let's get the command to fire engines for the Daytona 500 on Thanksgiving Day.
Drivers, start them engines!
I love the smell of NASCAR engines in the morning, or the afternoon, whenever this race is being run.
Well, all 40 drivers rolling out on the racetrack for their one pace lap. Now, of course, some of the big notes when it comes to the actual racing here at Daytona are pretty obvious. Drivers trying to do their best to avoid the big one, avoiding trying to go 4 wide, and also pit strategy could come into play if this race is green flag all the way through. What do you guys have for expectations for this race? We'll start with Dylan.
Well, Daytona is always a big race, and the 500 don't expect to go crazy early on unless they got something crazy in their head. But within the last few laps, these drivers will make crazy moves going for the win, because everyone wants to win the 500 and put some credit in. So we'll see what they do heading to the last few laps. But early on, You never know what could happen. It's a mystery.
Preston?
I'm kind of with Dylan, although I have to say, I don't think we're going to wait till the last few laps for these drivers to go crazy. These drivers are going to go 4 wide and get to the lead as fast as possible. They'll do anything, especially to avoid the big one. They'll do anything in their power to stay out of trouble. But, I mean, I guess that's Daytona and Talladega.
Or restrictor play racing of any sort. But we're coming off of turn 4 to get this bad boy underway as the pace car is getting ready to pull in, and he's pulling into pit road. So it's time for the 3rd race of the day. It's time to go boogity, boogity, boogity racing.
And the season is underway.
Why is it not great to hear that from you, Levi? That was a rhetorical question. It's always great to hear that from you.
So far as you're seeing before Levi pops on, you're seeing 3 wide for a bit, but don't expect, you know, the 3 wide to stop. It's going to continue on throughout the majority of the race. And you see the 48 going to the lead as they're 3 wide behind. Coming behind, it looks like leading the first lap of the season. It's going to be no surprise that Jimmy Johnson fanboy. Oh, I'm sorry. Too soon. He's going to lead the first lap.
And he's going to pull away, I might add.
Yeah, Cody Lamas takes the lead on the first lap as it's still 3 wide for second. Here comes Alex Drayton in the 14 for Stewart Haas Racing with help from Dougie Shears in the 83. Now, Alex Drayton last season was his rookie season. Definitely one he wants to forget about. Whereas Dougie Shears, he's been a veteran of this series for a long time, but he's just not been able to catch a break pretty much since he's come along in the Marvel Studios Cup Series. Maybe this will be the season where he finally breaks out, especially considering he's basically a single-car team this season for Red Bull Racing after everything that happened last season.
Yeah, the single-car team's tough, but if you get a manufacturer buddy to help you out, who knows? Good benefits, so you never know.
Meanwhile, the top 4 sort of broken away a little bit from the rest of the pack, at least for now, but Jake Rogers, tried to block Preston Plord, but Preston just had too large of a run, so the 56 had to give room, and then meanwhile, the 22 of Benjamin Miles trying to get a run on Alex Drayton for second, and this is exactly what the 48 of Cody Lamas likes to see, to be able to keep that race lead. But then again, when you're out ahead by a good margin, that's not necessarily a good thing because that draft can bite you in the rear end. And speaking of battles, Preston Plord with help from teammate Jonathan Zorleen working together, at least for now, but Zorleen may have other ideas as he's going to make it 3 wide for second.
You just had to jinx that one, did you? You said we were working as a team, and then Jonathan's like, see you later.
Well, speaking of teammates, you got 2 out of 3 teammates for Evernham Motorsports up here. Zachary Fitzwater in the 91 and Paul Minnick in the 9. But again, 3 wide for third, as they were 3 wide pretty much all over the place. But back up here at the front, it is a Hendrick Motorsports 1-2. Cody Lamas, Jonathan Zorleen. Preston Plord you can see right there in frame. But there is 1 car missing from Hendrick Motorsports that should be up here, and I can't seem to find them for now. Or it might just be those 3. I don't know, I'm just spitballing at this point. But anyways, as we're looking around to see how everyone else is doing, the 2 front row starters, the 17 of Thoreau and the 4 of Curtis, they're falling to the back. Maybe they're just buying their time and waiting for the big one to happen and see if they can't get through and try and gain as many positions as possible. As I'm looking around, and yeah, they are going 3 wide all over. And a couple of the cars who started in the back, they're already working their way up here to the front, the highest one being Kyle Matthews, who started dead last and is already up here almost into the top 10.
Yeah, he's working his way up. He's doing really, really good, but I'll tell you what, the 42 is being smart. He's working his way in the inside line where it's preferred line, so give it some time. He'll be up in the front, so I'm not worried with the 42. And as long as they're not going 4 wide.
And not to mention, he's working together with teammate Charles Sanford, who himself is a former winner of the Daytona 500 back in Season 2. He's trying to become the first person in Marvel Studios Cup Series history to win the Daytona 500 twice. As the other driver who won this race.
Credit to that too. It's a tough feat.
Indeed, and trying to remember who won the Daytona 500 last season, and I can't seem to quite remember off the top of my head. I do remember that Joshua Sekuli won this race in Season 3 back when he was driving for Red Bull Racing. Or actually, no, when he was in the 11 car that he's back in this season. Last season, he was with Red Bull. But meanwhile, back up at the front, Cody Lamas still leads, but you got new drivers up here. Dylan Young in second, James Shelley in third. As you see Sanford coming up into the picture, Chris Dollarton in the 12 trying to get up there too. As a lot of drivers are starting to shuffle around, jockeying for position. As we are now less than 33 to go. Still a long, long way to go in the biggest race of them all.
And you've seen Shelley move Young out of the way for second, trying to work on the 48 next for the lead. But they're noticing that they're spread out, kind of. They're not really, like, supremely pack rate, except for one driver.
Yeah, Ryan Butcher, the rookie out of Roush Racing, sort of lost the draft, which is a tough break, so he's definitely going to be banking on a quick caution to come out to get back up into the pack. And, whoa, I saw Dollarton get a little sideways off turn 4, but saved it and still going strong. Meanwhile, it's going to be 3 wide for third as here comes Patrick Smith in the 55, Napa Auto Parts Dodge for Michael Waltrip Racing. As this season, Michael Waltrip Racing is a 3-car team. Actually, no, a 4-car team. You got the 00 of Colin Phillips, who's a rookie. Patrick Smith, who was a rookie last season. Jake Rogers still in the 56. But new to the team is the 32 of Matt McIntyre, the Season 3 champion. So they're definitely expanding their resources this season, and maybe this could be the time for MWR to shine, as right now, Patrick Smith, currently the highest running of those guys, but also the highest running Dodge in the field. Right now it's Chevy, Dodge, Toyota, Chevy, the top 4. But look at Dylan Jacobs in the 78th trying to go to the middle. Don't think that's going to work out too well, especially since he's now by himself.
Well, I noticed that with Charles Sanford too. He was in the middle and he decided to fall back. And then this time the 78 decided to go through the middle and he actually made it work. Somewhat.
Somewhat, although he got overtaken by a couple cars. But meanwhile, we may get our first lead change of the day, as here comes Patrick Smith with a run to the inside of Cody Lamas. Oh, I see some close quarter racing between Dylan Jacobs in the 78 and Paul Minnick in the 9. And it almost looked like the 78 was about to turn him, but let off and now is going back to the middle, as he's in the middle of a Evernham sandwich as the 91 of Fitzwater goes to the bottom.
I hope there's mayonnaise in that sandwich and maybe some lettuce and maybe some bacon would be nice.
Damn you.
Yeah, good thing Charles Jackson's not in this race. Anyways, Dylan Young now is going to try and get a run on the 48. Oh, the 48 shut the door on him, though. But the 2 is still right there on the back bumper of the 48. Don't know if the 2 is going to take that lightly, but he's going to stick to the back bumper for now. But he left the bottom open, but now closes it back up.
Yeah, the 48's been up in the front the entire race. No one's been having the opportunity to try to take the lead. No one's been close.
Well, we did have, for one lap at least, the 55 of Patrick Smith. So far we've only had 2 leaders this whole race, but it's been all mostly the 48 dominating this race, as he's just been doing a good job of blocking and keeping his car up at the front, but also the drivers are just racing each other too hard and letting them get away, and that's not necessarily what you want to do in the beginning of the Daytona 500, is race hard to the point where the leaders can pull away. But now, whoa, look at this move by the 55 of Patrick Smith, going right to the yellow line, and is going to try and take second away, but he's got no drafting help.
Yeah, if I were the 48, I'd keep doing on Dylan, because he is just driving the way the wheels off that car.
As meanwhile, I'm seeing a couple other noteworthy contenders who we haven't talked about all race long come up here. Rafael Leduc in that 77 WWE 2K18 car out of Furniture Row Racing, and I tell you, Leduc's going to be one to keep an eye out for all season, because last season, first half, not so good. Picked it up in the second half and made the chase, but didn't have the best of chase runs. But he's been a championship contender ever since the beginning of this series' inception back in Season 1. Same with a lot of other guys, but right now the 77 doing a good job of working his way up through the field right behind the 03. But right now, Patrick Smith's still trying to figure out how to get around this 48 car again. But nonetheless, looks like the 55's just committed to pushing the 48 for now. I guess it proves your point. It proves our point of where friends are where you find them.
And apparently, I'm hung out to dry. I don't mean to break the fourth wall there, but oh, we got some pit stops. We got some pit stops going on for the first time.
James Shelley, the first one to come into pit road, and also Sean Galligan, Carson Gum, and Jessica Sheldon all come in. As, yeah, Ryan Butcher has completely lost the draft. But is he coming into pit road? No, it doesn't look like it. Anyways, back up here, it's still Cody Lamas. And now we got Young Motorsports teammates fighting for second. Dylan Young in the 2 and Benjamin Miles in the 22. And this season, Young Motorsports cut down to a 3-car team, as Dorian Facepuncher, who was in the 62 for a long time, he decided he was going to move down to the Amazon Prime Truck Series this season. And oh, here comes Majority Field, although this could turn messy if they're not careful. And it looks like, oh no, DJ Curtis gets contact. So too does the 00 of Colin Phillips. So some drivers running into each other on pit road, but that's about 75% of the field on pit road. But the new battle for the lead, Seth Cole in the 98 trying to go by Matt McIntyre, and other drivers that stayed out, Preston Plord, Joshua Sekuli, Jonathan Zorline, Kyle Matthews, Jake Rogers, and Joshua Collard all stay out. Cody Lama's going to be the first one to come out of pit road, but Dylan Young hot on his trail.
Yeah, I almost led that lap, but for some reason I had a problem with my car, and those 2 cars just zoomed by me like I wasn't even trying to block them. Right.
Okay, enough fourth wall breaks from you. Anyways, here comes the rest of the field in the pit road. So it looks like as if they're going to have to pit again somewhere between laps 30 and 34. So yeah, this is going to be a 2-stop race for these drivers. But again, it could get altered if a wreck were to occur. But considering how clean these drivers have been racing, I'm not sure if we're going to get the big one. But watch, I probably just jinxed it. But oh well.
Yeah, be careful, dude.
Meanwhile, Matt McIntyre, the first one to come out of pit road of this third group of cars. Then Sekuli, Matthews, Zorline, Rogers, Collard, Plord, and Seth Cole. But now here comes everyone else, and they are going to easily zoom on by everyone that's just coming out of pit road. So, well, Matt McIntyre's still way out ahead, but I think he's going to get bypassed pretty soon. And here comes Cody Lamas with a push from Dylan Young. And the lead has cycled back around to the 48 of Cody Lamas. But as I say that, here comes Dylan Young with the run to the inside.
Good Lord, you're just jinxing things all over the place. But I do have to say, Cody Lamas has been to this race what Canada has been to Olympic ice hockey. Absolutely dominant.
Indeed. close at the line, but Cody Lamas still led that lap, mostly because Dylan Young just hasn't had much drafting help, although he may get it from Charles Sanford, as Sanford tried to make it 3 wide for the lead, but just didn't have enough speed to make it stick. But he's going to push Dylan Young to the lead, at least for now, but you're probably going to see the rest of these drivers behind him catch back up to the top 3, and especially now that the top 3 are about to go 3 wide for the lead, Dylan Young runs Cody Lamas up the racetrack, and now it's still side by side, 3 wide, but Sanford may have the advantage running on the bottom. But yeah, this is definitely helping the rest of the field as they're starting to form a single file train to try and catch up to the top 3.
Here comes the cavalry.
And then you got a separation back to James Shelley and Rafael LeDuc, as the field, yeah, is definitely more spread out, but are still relatively close together. Maybe a second separates each pack. So if they were to work together in a formation, they can all work together in unison to try and catch up to the rest of the drivers up here at the front. But Dylan Young currently holds the lead as we're nearing the halfway point, and once we get to the halfway point, which is coming up in just a moment, we will be taking a commercial break. And speaking of which, we're coming to the line, still side by side between Lamas and Young. We're at the halfway point, so stick around. The action will be on the bottom of your screen, but we're going to take a commercial break. We'll be right back. Okay, let's see what we got to drink. Ah, fucking perfect. Ah, some good old Powerade.
So far, this is
delicious. No, not really. Powerade, the most overrated drink ever made. Go to your local store and see for yourself.
Aggressive goes around.
Hey, you there.
what?
Yeah, you. I'm talking to you, mister. Are you tired of the same old porn websites, and are you tired of watching formulaic porn videos?
Yeah, kind of.
Well, are you ready for something a little more innovative and interesting? Well, if you are, then head on over to ZebBellringerPorn.com and you'll find everything your big heart desires. Wait, you're going to let this opportunity go to waste? What the... Are you kidding me? How can you resist such a natural beauty like this? I mean, come on!
No, I'm just afraid I'm gonna get screwed over.
Oh, no, 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 no! Contraire, my friend. You'll get screwed, but you'll get screwed in the best way possible. Just click this box right here, and you'll find an amazing experience that even a filthy mark like you will enjoy. So what are you waiting for? Click here now! Another satisfied customer. Well, Zev, let's go get you some more customers, shall we? What the fuck? There's a fucking crack in the fucking ceiling of my room, and it's leaking blood. Are there a bunch of dead birds up there or something? Either way, I need to get this fixed. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there! Hey, can you fix this for me, please? I sure can. Just give me a second.
A few moments later.
Another reason more people stay with State Farm. Get to a better state.
Go ahead. Indulge yourself with the finest food mankind ever created. After all, you deserve it after a long, hard day at work having to piddle around with a bunch of dumb fucking idiots on a golf course. So yes, eat away your pain.
Where's the pizza?
I've got fucking Chinese food! I can't even open it! Look at this Chinese food! Look at this Chinese food! Oh, I'm gonna eat it! Look at this. You've got lo mein noodles, you've got onions, you've got carrots, cabbage, and you also have General Tao chicken pieces. I think Chinese food, the best a man or woman can get. Welcome back to live action here at the Daytona 500 as Cody Lamas continues to dominate this race, as everyone behind him just continues to race hard and the 48 just continues to pull away, at least little by little. But I am back, as well as Preston Blord, as we've been keeping an eye on the action here during the commercial break, and so far from what we've seen, it's basically going to come down to these 9 drivers up here in this pack, because everyone else behind them, you got this little pack of cars, of 4 cars trying to work together single file to try and catch up to the top 9. Carson Gum, Rafael LeDuc, Jessica Sheldon, and James Shelley, who ironically were majority of drivers that came into pit road the first time under green. And you can tell, look at the intervals on the ticker, they are gaining a little bit of time on the top 9. So if they were to just keep going how they're doing and let the drivers ahead of them just race hard, it might turn into a 13-car battle for the win, potentially. Then again, we got pit stops perhaps coming up in about 5 to 7 laps.
And you never know if this, sorry, I'm stumbling my words here. You never know if the second pack or even the third pack of cars could gang up on this lead pack that's being led by Cody Lamas. We still got plenty of laps to go in the race. How many? I can't see the lap counter very well. 14 to go, maybe?
Yes, we're at 14 to go now, as we're seeing 3 wide, and I believe that's for the 6th position, and they're all Dodges. So you got 4 Dodges in the top 9 right now. You only got 2 Fords and 3 Chevys up here right now. Meanwhile, it may get interesting up here for second. Dylan Young gonna block both lanes, block both Charles Sanford and Anthony McCurry for that second spot.
Yeah, pardon my pun here for a second, but Dylan Young has been throwing a block party all day long.
I'm glad it cut off after that, because I would have been mad. Anyways, battle still continuing for second as Charles Sanford with the run to the inside. Still trying to get around that 2 car, and luckily he's going to get help from Anthony McCurry, but now there's a separation, so now the main pack is sort of split in 2, at least for now, until they start to catch up. As meanwhile, Carson, LeDuc, Sheldon, and Shelley still working together single file, but haven't really been able to get much time on the guys up here in the top 9. And then you got this bigger pack of cars led by Ethan Hoffman in the 99, and also has a couple other guys behind him like Preston Blord, James Qualls, Kyle Matthews, among others. They are still trying to catch up to those 4 drivers ahead of them, but let's see the interval difference. It's about 6.5 seconds separating this pack from the top 9. But we are getting closer to green flag pit stops, so perhaps, depending on what drivers are going to want for their pit stops, we could see a shuffled up field. We've seen it happen countless times in the past in this race. It could very well happen again.
Oh, and Cody's taking the first of the second pit stop cycle.
Yeah, he as well as Galligan and Miles come in, and here comes Sheldon and Shelley. Looks like about half the field is coming in here on lap 29, going into lap 30, and everybody else is going to stay out an extra lap.
And what I was trying to say was Cody was taking the first move of the second pit stop cycle. I'm stumbling with my words, and my sentences don't really come out very well as of late, but I'm doing.
Anyway, Zachary Fitzwater currently has the race lead, holding off Patrick Smith and a couple others, but are they going to come in? Yes, they are, and in fact, all of the leaders up here in this top 6 pack are coming in. Let's see about anybody else. Preston Plord going to stay out an extra lap. Could be banking on a quick caution to come out and see if he can keep the lead. I don't know. That's going to be a big stretch, though. But it looks like Preston is the only one. Well, actually, no. Maybe there's another. So I'm trying to look. Seth Cole stays out. So 2 drivers stay out an extra lap. Seth Cole and Preston Plord. As right now, the 24 has the race lead. But he won't have it for long as we're getting ready for the end of round 2 of pit stops and the end of pit stops for this race.
Last thing the 24 wants to do is make mistakes on this pit stop. He and his team did stock up on a lot of Pepsi in case they.
Seth Cole's going to stay out another lap, although he might have been considering coming into pit road, but he had no way of getting down there because the 83 and the 78 were blocking him. So now Seth Cole's going to have a little bit of a tougher time trying to get to pit road. He may end up running out of gas unless he's planning on trying to stay out extra laps just so that way he can have a big enough lead. But I don't know. I mean, when you're by yourself, or at least he was, and you're trying to pit, you end up losing quite a lot of time. But I don't know. Will the 98 be able to even get in the pit road? Because he's still getting blocked by a lot of drivers. Yeah, he finally finds a way to get down. But I'm going to look around to see who will take the lead. I think if everything cycles around properly, the new race leader could be Sean Galligan.
And we haven't talked a lot about Galligan much all day.
No, Galligan just been hanging out in that top 9 pack for the majority of the second half. And if things go properly, depending on what happens with the 98 here on this pit stop, 2 tires and gas. But I think the 44 is definitely going to get around him easily because Seth's still coming out of the pits. Oh, he had a spin happen through the grass going off of pit road, it looks like. Surprised no caution came out. As you see all that dust kicked up.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of dust kicked up there. I just hope it doesn't obscure the driver's vision because that could lead to a major accident. Like,
it very well could, but yeah, I'm shocked no caution. Perhaps they spun it just on the apron there. As you can tell, the tire marks right there off of pit road, but now everything has cycled around as promised. And we have a new leader, Sean Galligan, in the 44. But for now, here comes Jessica Sheldon in the 02, who was stuck in around the 12th position for most of that second half. Now she finds herself up here challenging for the win. But Benjamin Miles in the 22 has a run to the inside. So right now, it's going to come down to the top 6, it looks like. It's going to be perhaps between Miles, Shelton, Galligan, Sanford, Fitzwater, and McCrory. Cody Lamas, who dominated this race, he's so far behind. I'm almost 4 seconds behind. But he's got James Shelley behind him. And then you got this big pack from 9th on back, led by rookie Cullen Francis. Oh, and I think I may know what may have caused that spin. I see some right side damage to the 61 of Anthony McCrory and Charles Sanford. So it might have been miscommunication coming off of pit road between those two and another driver that perhaps spun. But they're still able to keep it up here. And right now, Jessica Sheldon holding drivers at bay behind her. Jessica Sheldon trying to break a long winless streak here, not only in the Marvel Studios Cup Series, but on this channel. She went winless in Season 4, so she could definitely kick off this season on a high note by winning the Daytona 500, but you got a quite hungry driver with Sean Galligan, and as I noted in the pole day qualifying session back on Tuesday, Sean Galligan's going to have a fire under his belly like no other because he was so close to winning the championship last season, so he's definitely going to be a threat to not only win races, but to try and win this championship. And right now he's showing it by running up here in the top 3. Benjamin Miles right there behind him. Miles is trying to get some redemption for himself after everything that transpired last season. Right now having a great run in 3rd. Charles Sanford trying to become the first driver in Marvel Studios Cup Series history to win the Daytona 500 twice. But right now he's in 4th and doesn't have much help in the draft to try and catch up to the top 3. And then you got Zachary Fitzwater in 5th, who's trying to have a better season going. And then Anthony McCurry in the 6th position, looking for a good start to the season. But now we may see a transition take place because you got these two, Lamas and Shelley, who are now only 3.5 seconds back from everyone in front of them, and they got this big pack of cars catching them. I don't know if they're going to have enough time, but if they can work together, they may have a chance. But again, I just don't think they're going to have enough time to catch up to him, because when we get to the line, it's going to be 3 laps to go.
Yeah, they're definitely not going to catch up if they keep going side by side like that. They need to be patient, be zen, be like Mark. Miles wants that lead. He's looking, but fighting is.
Indeed. It's looking like it's going to come down to these top 3 right here. Galligan, Miles, and Sheldon, because they're the ones closest to each other. Then you got Charles Sanford, who's starting to lose the top 3. Fitzwater, who's sort of lurking there. And now Lamas, who's now sort of leading the bigger pack of cars now. They're still trying to do all they can to gain as much speed as possible to catch up to the top 5. But I just, like I said, just don't think there's enough time, as it's now 2 to go here in the Daytona 500. But my goodness, those drivers back here are trying.
They're trying, but the question is, will they succeed? There's a difference.
Right now, Sheldon just holding off everybody, and mostly because Miles nor Galligan is willing to make a move, at least maybe not just yet. Maybe they're just timing it to see what happens, or they're just not powerful enough to get around the O2. And then back here, you got 2 lap down cars fighting back here in the back. But we're coming to the white flag. White flag is out in the Daytona 500. Jessica Sheldon leads over Benjamin Miles, Sean Galligan. And Galligan trying to work a lower lane, but that might have just sealed the deal, because now Sheldon's going to have an even bigger gap. As there you see Sanford and Fitzwater have fallen back to this bigger pack, but I don't think they're going to get up there. And I don't think anyone's going to catch the O2. She's just got too big of a lead now to worry about, because Galligan made a side-by-side for second, which was not what you wanted to do. But we're getting ready to come out of turn number 4 for the final time. After spending a majority of the race in the mid-pack, Jessica Sheldon finally breaks a winless streak. She wins the Daytona 500 Thanksgiving edition here at Daytona.
Shelton Nation is going to absolutely party tonight.
Indeed, and party with vanilla Coke.
I'd party with Pepsi, but vanilla Coke is cool.
But nonetheless, Jessica Sheldon finally breaks a long winless streak, and not only that, but wins the Daytona 500 for the first time in her career in this series. But let's look at the rest of the results. Sean Galligan made a big move on the last lap to get second, but unfortunately kind of cost himself a chance to win the race, but still gets a great run in the 3rd spot nonetheless. Or actually the 2nd spot. 3rd would be Benjamin Miles, as Benjamin Miles had a very, very, very good day today. 4th, Cody Lamas, the dominant car of the day, kind of got screwed out of pit road, but still gets a great points day in 4th. And then Kyle Matthews, who started dead last, finished in the top 5, which is impressive. Joshua Collard finishing out in 6th. James McLeod with a great run in 7th. Highest running rookie Cullen Francis in the 41 finishing 8th. Alex Drayden finishes 9th, and then with a great run in 10th, Zachary Fitzwater. Rest of the top 20 was Ethan Hoffman, James Qualls, James Shelley, Preston Plord, Matt McIntyre, Tim Fiegel, Charles Sanford, Jake Rogers, Rafael LeDuc, Carson Gum. Rest of the top 30 was Paul Minnick, Dylan Young, Anthony McCrory, DJ Curtis, Seth Cole, Dylan Jacobs, Jonathan Zorleen, Jake Baskinger, Dylan Poteet, Patrick Smith. And then the final 5 points drivers were Diego Yepez, Chris Dollarton, Dougie Shears, Jay Jefferson, Trent Dunham. Everyone else, unfortunately, will not get any points whatsoever. And they were Joshua Sekuli, Emmanuel Hartnett, Dylan Thoreau, Colin Phillips, and Ryan Butcher. So that does it for our coverage today for the Daytona 500 and for all racing on Thanksgiving Day. And I'd like to thank Dylan Young, who unfortunately had to leave, and Preston Blord for stopping by the booth.
You're very welcome, Levi. Commentating with you it never ceases to be fun.
Alrighty, and without further ado, here are your final results. Rookie points and regular points heading into our next race coming up on Monday. But this is Levi McIntyre signing off.